I say that I work in the land of millimeters.
It's a sparkly land filled with gemstones and precious metals.
I can work visually within a tolerance of about a half a millimeter.
Itty bitty, teeny tiny, delicate, but kind of dangerous.
They can cut right through flesh and bone. Flesh and bone. I know many jewelers who live with a little piece of saw blade in their finger or their thumb.
A metalsmith for nearly 25 years, Nancy Lee turned to the work full-time during the Great Recession in 2008.
I lost my really great paying construction job, and I was also getting a divorce, so I ran out of all of my funding, and my backup funding was gone.
In some ways, the pandemic-driven economic downturn of 2020 was a familiar problem for Lee. It brought back to mind the words of a friend.
Are you going to be okay? And she said, I know how to be poor. Heart-wrenching statement. And then I learned what it meant to be poor. And it doesn't feel very good. The cascade of events when you don't have the funds to help yourself, it's degrading, and it makes you feel depressed.
Restrictions in place early on in the pandemic meant that Lee and her fellow artists lost access to their studio spaces inside the Circle City Industrial Complex near downtown Indianapolis. Some good news, though. Rent was covered for 2 months, thanks to an anonymous donor.
It was just a huge relief because there was so much unknown at the time. It was like no feeling I've ever experienced before. It was completely helpless. It was like standing in a room and turning in a circle and not knowing which direction to go.
Lee also applied to the Arts Council of Indianapolis's COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund, a monthly grant of $500 to help artists normally dependent on events such as the monthly First Friday Art Tour to help make ends meet.
That grant helped me keep my business alive when everything was just shut down completely.
The over $1 million relief fund was set up shortly after pandemic restrictions began and has since helped over 800 artists.
It just was an amazing, wonderful feeling of support. It's like, I matter. Somebody recognized the work that I'm doing by myself, behind closed doors, doing the best that I can, and they care that I am doing that, and they make me feel like I matter.
Lee had beefed up her website in 2019 and also saw an uptick in online sales through her Instagram account.
It was really heartening. It was like, the way I do business a lot now is I make appointments, and people actually made appointments, and they actually came and purchased in those one-on-one appointments.
2020 held one more twist for Nancy Lee. After beginning her college experience 40 years ago, Lee decided to return to school in 2017 as an English creative writing major at IUPUI. She was set to finally graduate after visualizing the ceremony as motivation in the spring of 2020. Instead, she, her husband, and so many of her classmates decided to make the best of it all.
And it was like, let's make this fun. Let's make the best of it. Forget pomp and circumstance. This is just going to be, we're just going to figure it out.
Just like turning little bits of metal into works of art. Joy Hernandez for Great Day TV.